listening to Heroes Forge, a Heroes of the Storm podcast.
Hello, fellow Forgers, and welcome to episode number 40 of Heroes Forge, a community-driven podcast about Heroes of the Storm. This is your show host for the week, Kristen Ashton, while Jeff is out at TwitchCon, and I am joined by a wonderful guest tonight, podcaster on The Angry Chicken and The Gamers Inn, as well as fellow Murloc enthusiast, Jocelyn Moffett. Jocelyn, welcome. How are you today?
Thank you. I'm great. I've never been called a Murloc enthusiast before. I love it.
Wonderful. So now, Sir Finley Mrrgglton, your choice, of course. You said he wasn't as... No, someone suggested you do a sparkly character, correct?
Yes, as soon as people heard that I was going to be on the show tonight, they're like, "Oh my God, you're going to have to pick the sparkliest person in the Blizzard universe." I'm just like, I don't even know who that would be.
Well, I think Mrrgglton is a perfect choice. So with that, let's go ahead and talk about your history with Blizzard Gaming. Now, everyone seems to have the one game that got them into the Blizzard universe. What's yours?
Well, I think I would have to say Warcraft, although I came into the Blizzard universe way after everybody else. I came into Warcraft in, I guess, the end of Kata, so going into Mists of Pandaria. So I was really, really late to the game. So I think the first thing I really got into in terms of being competitive and really, digging into a Blizzard game would have been Hearthstone. So, and that was, as you mentioned off the top of the show, that I do The Angry Chicken, which is a Hearthstone podcast. And I've been doing that basically since the game was in beta. And that was the first one that I really dove into. So Sir Finley was such a great choice for me because now that he's in Warcraft, he's like straddling the two Blizzard titles that I think are my favorites. So
that's wonderful. So you say Hearthstone. So who's your favorite, I guess, hero in Hearthstone?
I tend towards Hunter, and I play with Illyria, who is like the alternate Hunter skin. Rexxar is pretty cool, but I like Illyria. I love the story of the Windrunner sisters, all three of them. I think they're fantastic. So yeah, definitely Hunter, definitely Illyria.
That's great. Now, I didn't know Illyria was a Windrunner or a Hunter. Now, has she always been a Hunter, or is that something that kind of evolved in the lore?
It's a little bit of a stretch. I think she's a ranger, so technically she has a bow, but she's not a hunter in the way that, say, Rexxar is, because Rexxar has, like, the beast companions. Illyria is more of, like, a marksman hunter, so she's always on her own, just her and her bow sort of thing. So it's a little bit of a stretch, but she's a hunter.
Definitely. So now, but in Hearthstone, they can't really change that, right? You still have your bow and arrow, and you still mostly summon beasts, correct?
Right.
Gotcha. And then do you play a hunter in Warcraft as well?
I do. Yeah. My main is a hunter, but I also have a holy paladin that I use to heal, and I have a mage that I'm playing, as you know, in our wonderful dungeon group.
Yes. Now, of the three, do you have a favorite?
I think probably paladin, although my hunter will always be near and dear to my heart, of course.
Of course.
You always remember your first class.
You do. Now, did you raise your hunter from level 1 all the way up, or did you do one of those boosts?
Oh, no, I did. My hunter has been what I've played since I first started the game. So she went all the way. She's the first character I level in every expansion. And, she is me.
She completes you.
Yeah.
And then of the pets that you can have you stuck with the same one as you've leveled, or have you found really cool ones that you've switched to?
Oh my God. So I am like the worst. I am the most anti-hunter ever because like so many people have like their pet and that's what they play with. I'm so fickle. I'm like, I want to get them all. And then I literally go into an area and I'm like, ooh, shiny. I want this one now. So I definitely don't keep the same pet all the way through. Oh man. I think the longest one that I had was a crystal spider and I named him Skitters. And so I had him with me for probably like 10 levels. And that was a lot.
That's fantastic. So you get to name your pets. Yes,
you can name your pets. Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So Skitters, and then who is your second longest running?
Ooh, geez, I can't, right now, actually, I've been playing at level 110 with, a mana tiger. So those are the kind of like blue with like the purple, like swirly patterns on them. And I got that one in Suramar and I named her Brightpaw, and I've been using her pretty much exclusively since I hit max level. So she's probably the one that's stuck around the most, I think.
Fantastic, fantastic. Now, have you played other Blizzard games as well, StarCraft, Diablo, or do you stick mainly with just Hearthstone and Warcraft?
I love StarCraft. I have such a crush on Raynor. He is like my favorite ever. He's just amazing. And I loved your cosplay the other day, by the way.
Thank you very much.
I was going to write something into Twitch chat about like how I was like crushing on you so hard because of your cosplay. And then I'm like, maybe I shouldn't actually put that in Twitch chat because if anyone doesn't know who I am, that's going to be really weird.
That's true. That's true. But I would have known, and that's the important part.
Yeah.
So what did you think of the ending of most recent StarCraft? Like the ending when Jin's in the bar by himself.
Loved it. I mean, it's so good. It just wrapped up everything. And then she just walks through the door and you're just like, yes. It's like, I don't even care how this is possible. I don't even care if this is making sense. This is like the perfect end of the perfect story.
I agree. It was a happy ending. I think we were both hoping that was going to happen. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
But as far as Diablo goes, I'm not a huge Diablo player. I have played through the game start to finish, but the world and the story just kind of never grabbed me as much as the other Blizzard stories. Both StarCraft and Warcraft, I find, have really complete and full stories, and that's kind of the focus of a lot of the game. Whereas with Diablo, it's so min-maxy, and I don't love the gameplay, and I find the story in Diablo gets kind of lost sometimes. So it hasn't grabbed me the way that the crafts have. Definitely.
And I know that lore can get really put on and thick too. And they don't really explain half of it sometimes.
Exactly. So yeah, I feel kind of lost in Diablo. So I don't get into it as much as I do the others. But I find, because I think there's books and stuff for Diablo too. And so I think if I read the books, then that might be different.
Yep, a bit more fleshing out of the story, I guess.
Plus, I came into Diablo, I guess, and it's funny because Diablo is one of my favorite characters to actually play in Heroes of the Storm, but I think I came into Diablo in Diablo 3, so I didn't play 1 or 2, so then I was missing all of that story as well. So I feel like the universe would have made a little bit more sense if I started at the beginning. Who knew?
If you had spent those long summers that so many people had just pounding through Diablo 2. Awesome. Well, with that, I think it's time to get going, and let's take on Sir Finley Mrrgglton. So, let's forge.
Let's forge.
All right, Sir Finley Mrrgglton. Now, you are a lore aficionado of sorts. You are a living encyclopedia of Warcraft knowledge.
I like to think so.
So when did that start? When you first got into Warcraft, or kind of as you figured out the world?
Well, that was kind of the problem, is that I got into Warcraft and then so much of it was, first of all, had already happened because I came in post-Kata, and then second of all was behind like raiding content. So I didn't get to actually experience it like during the leveling kind of process. So, I mean, I went back once I hit max level and did some of the old raids, but story-wise, I found it really disjointed and it was hard to figure out what was happening. So I got really into the Warcraft books, and that was probably right around just after Pandaria came out, I think. So I started reading the Warcraft books chronologically, so not as they were released, but as they actually happened in the universe. And I devoured them, especially the ones by Christy Golden. Oh my God, I love them so much. She is a genius. So I got way into those books, and as soon as I finished one, I'd have the other ready to go, and all of them all the time. I just couldn't get enough of it. So which I think then really helped my game experience a lot, because then I was just like, oh my God, I have to know what the rest of the story is. So
exactly. And then you have a personal connection to the characters in the story as well. You felt what they've felt.
Exactly. Yes. And you get some more insight too, because like a lot of the stories are written from the perspective of the characters that you only ever get to see from the outside. So to get to see their perspective on things and what they're actually thinking and the things that they've been through, it really changes your perspective on the game itself.
Certainly. Now, Sir Finley Mrrgglton, I don't think has any books about him quite yet.
Not yet.
Forthcoming.
Yeah.
So who is he in the realm of Hearthstone?
Well, so this is what I find so interesting about Sir Finley, and there were a couple of other characters as well that were introduced in League of Explorers, which was an adventure that came out near the end of last year. And basically, League of Explorers introduced us to Bran Bronzebeard, who we'd actually seen before, but then he had three friends with him in this, like, they just basically did a whole bunch of exploring, and they were after this staff of origination, and that was what the adventure in Hearthstone was. There wasn't a whole lot of lore because Hearthstone is built around, obviously it's a card game, so there's much less like questing and exploring and story. But yeah, so Sir Finley and Reno Jackson and Elise Starseeker were all new characters introduced in Hearthstone that actually didn't have counterparts in Warcraft, and that was like the first time that had happened. So Sir Finley is really interesting in that respect, and now he's actually been taken from Hearthstone and placed into Warcraft, and in Legion you can actually get quests from him, which is really, really cool.
Yes. Now, I've heard he was found as an egg. Was he found by Elise Starseeker?
I don't actually know. I didn't realize that he had like actual like real solid backstory.
Yeah, I've heard, so he was raised by humans, and that explains why he can speak common and stand up straight.
Yes, he is a murloc, but he is no ordinary murloc. He has a British accent and wears a monocle and drinks tea, and I love him.
the most gentleman knighted murloc ever.
Yes.
And then going back to the Warcraft questing in World of Warcraft, if you haven't done that quest line yet, please. It's what, at the north of, it's in Stormheim, right?
Yes, it is. It's in Stormheim. It's kind of in like the northeastern kind of area. There's like a bit of a bay, and there's some pirate ships down there, and he's actually on the shore. And so he is part of the I guess it's Explorers League in Warcraft. So he's really tied into all the exploration and archaeology. So he sends you on a quest to go after a necklace relic thing, and you have to get it back from the pirates. And it's just so cool that he's actually gone from being in Hearthstone, which is based on Warcraft, like being ported into Warcraft is really cool.
Mm-hmm. And of course, we get to see his little camp and how he sets up in the world.
And he's got a little Murloc doll in his tent. I don't know if you noticed, but like his tent behind him, he's got like a little stuffed Murloc.
It's adorable. I think him and Murky would just be best friends.
Right?
Awesome, sweet. So with that, as we do every week, Jocelyn and I have both built kits for Sir Finley, from the trait all the way down to a skin we'd like to see him in. However, this week we're going to be doing it slightly differently. Instead of alternating back and forth with the builds the entire way through, one of us is going to read the entire build first, and the other will go second. So with that, Jocelyn, would you prefer the honor of taking the lead or sending us off with a bang?
Oh, I think I will send us off with a bang. I think you should go first and show me how it's done.
Okay, perfect. So, we're going into Finley Mrrgglton. You can tell this is the first time I've done this because my words are all jumbled. And I don't know if you get this when you're nervous, but your mouth runs dry, so that kind of affects the talking as well. So, apologizing already. Okay.
Yeah.
The role. The role I'm going with something, it depends on the abilities that he gets based off of his trait. And his trait is something called Age of Discovery. Now, as an established explorer, Sir Finley is always sure to carry on him 9 of his most favorite treasures. Every so often, Sir Finley is able to activate his trait. When this happens, he switches out his current 3 power-granting treasures for a random set of new 3.
That's really interesting. And this was something that I had, I guess, trouble with in my build of Sir Finley, was incorporating how he works in Hearthstone. Because how he works in Hearthstone is you play him, and he's not that powerful. He's a 1/3 you play on turn 1, but he gives you a choice of 3 random hero powers. And I was like, how can you do that in Heroes? So I think this is great.
Awesome, yeah. And especially since there are 9, too. How do you even... There are only 3 basic abilities you can have.
Right.
All right, and then for the mount, I figured he would be riding in a little cauldron because I saw that when you first meet him, he's in a little bit of a jam. He's being cooked in a stew.
Oh, I think that's great. I love that.
Awesome. Now, when you run into him in the cauldron, do you actually see an image of him in the cauldron? Are there little carrots and things in there as well?
Oh, geez, I can't remember now. This is the one problem that I had with Legion is that I loved it so much that I just couldn't put it down, and I blew through it in about a 24-hour period. And so like all of the different little questy bits are like just so mixed up in my head. I think you actually see him in the cauldron.
Fantastic. Cool. So we get to the queue, and the queue is one of three that's going to roll. The first is Shapeshift. Each time Sir Finley deals basic attack damage, he gets a shield amount equal to that damage amount. Or it could be Dagger Mastery, where Sir Finley pulls out an enchanted weapon that makes his basic attacks deal double damage. Or, is it Totemic?
Totemic, yes.
Cool. Totemic Call, where Mrrgglton pulls out a totem and slams it into the ground in front of him. It pulses with energy, sending out waves that heal friendly units and slow enemies.
I love this so much. You even went with the names of the Hearthstone hero powers. Like, this is such a great interpretation. I feel like now I'm going to talk about mine. I'm going to be like, oh man, how did I not think of the Hearthstone way to do this?
This is going to be, no, I read through yours. That's going to be hilarious. There's one you did that I absolutely love. All right, and then for the W, it's going to be a choice between either Reinforce, where Sir Mrrgglton can either add a new minion to the field or convince an enemy minion to fight on his side while it pushes a lane. A lesser heal, a quick heal with a fast cooldown that Mrrgglton can cast on himself and any one of his allies. Or Steady Shot, that when activated, Sir Finley deals a number of high damage rifle shots that then deal the most damage to the closest target, but decreasing damage to any targets behind them.
So when he's doing, like, if he casts his W, then does it re-roll, or does he have Steady Shot until all of the things re-roll?
He'll have the Steady Shot until he activates his trait, and then all three re-roll.
Okay.
Yep, and then we get to E, which are the rest of the heroic abilities. Life Tap. Holding an evil-looking relic, Mrrgglton can now suck in life energy from nearby enemies and then reactivate it to send out a large burst of healing to his compatriots, but it wounds him in the process.
Interesting.
And I thought the visual would be great with that, too. It's holding a little thing up. And then we get Armor Up, which is a quick cast with a quick cooldown. Mrrgglton places on himself replicating armor. The more times he casts this ability, the more armor he gets. And then Fire Blast. Mrrgglton pulls out a staff that summons down a huge fireball that deals massive damage to a large area. Once hit, the ground deals small bits of ongoing damage to those standing on it.
That sounds incredibly powerful.
Yeah, and I wanted to do that because you're a fire mage in Warcraft, and that stuff just, it looks deadly.
That's true. The flame strike in Warcraft is just like, it's like this column of lava that just comes down and splooshes all over the ground.
Mm-hmm. And then I also wanted to encompass the feeling of how annoying those one-shots are. When you're playing Jaina and you lay out your 1/1 and she just blows it away.
Yep.
Awesome. So the first heroic I have is something called 14 Dialects, because he speaks 14 dialects of Mrrggle, apparently. So a master of language, Sir Finley enjoys conversation. And upon activation, nearby enemy units and enemies are charmed as they listen to the murloc tell his tales of dashing do. When charmed, the enemy slowly moves closer toward him, and any that are affected are unable to activate any abilities or otherwise control their character until the end of Mrrggle's heroic.
I like this. So it's kind of like Mosh Pit, but with the pulling them into him as well.
Exactly. And
I like this.
I like to imagine he could move too.
Yes. Oh, I like that a lot. I just love a master of language. This little tiny murloc is going to charm an enemy team. That makes me so happy.
No,
especially with like his voiceover and stuff. I bet it could be amazing.
Oh, that's so. When they did his voiceover, was it the murgling and then subtitles?
Oh no, like he speaks like an English gentleman.
Oh, he totally does.
No, he does. He doesn't speak like Murloc at all. He totally speaks like common. It's awesome.
That's incredible. Now, did he ever tell any stories on this adventure or translate anything?
So in Hearthstone he's fully voiced, but he's not voiced in Warcraft, unfortunately. So he still speaks comment like in chat bubbles, but he doesn't actually get voiceover, sad face. But yeah, he actually does he doesn't so much tell too many stories. It's more so like they pop up and interact with you in little blurbs. But now you're making me wish that he actually sat there and told me a story.
Doesn't matter what language of Murloc, just as long as he tells a story.
Exactly.
Okay, and then the last heroic, I'm going with something called the Lost Relic. Now, Finley reaches into his bag to pull out one of the relics. He sure will help, but accidentally pulls out the fantastical relic made up of all of the pieces, the 9 pieces he's been carrying with him. Now wielding a force of untold power, Sir Finley has access to all of his abilities at once. In addition, all of these abilities are buffed for the duration of this heroic.
Oh man, how would you even control that?
Oh my goodness, I'm thinking number buttons as well as the QWE.
That's what I'm thinking. So you'd have to do like maybe like QWE 1, 2, 3 and like AS and D or something. Like
just get a keyboard extension and pop it on there.
Oh man, that's awesome. That's a great idea though. Having access to all of that at once, that's really powerful. Especially, I mean, God, you've got your 2 different heals, you've got your damaging abilities, you've got your protection with all your shields from your warrior stuff. Oh yeah, that'd be so good.
Oh, awesome. And I love the idea too of characters that can change what they are based on what the team needs at the time. Because how many times are you in a game and you need more damage or you need more healing, and there's just no way you can pull it?
That's true. The flexibility is really important.
Yeah, sweet. So we will save the skins for the end there. So we won't go into that one yet. But before going on to Jocelyn's build here, I want to give a huge thank you to all of you that support us. If you'd like to support but aren't sure how, head on over to iTunes and leave us a 5-star review. Just be sure to leave your name so we can thank you personally on the show. We are also very, very grateful to our Patreon supporters for helping us move one step closer to our next goal. And if you'd like to become a patron, please visit our patreon.com/HeroesForge page. All right, Jocelyn, are you ready?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can compete with that amazing opener.
Oh, you got this. You got this.
I will say, when you asked me to come on the show, I was a little bit like, I don't even know if I should say yes, because I was just like, this has got to be so difficult to try to come up with all these different powers. And then I was thinking I had to balance it based on what else is in the game. And I went like way too deep in my head. And then once I actually picked Sir Finley, I was like, okay, just sit down and do it. Like, you can do this. And then once you start and get like a couple of things, it really starts to flow. So I actually had a really good time with this. So I hope you guys like my build.
Awesome. Yeah, right. It builds itself.
It kind of does. So I picture Sir Finley kind of in the same sort of a role as Sylvanas. So I think he's kind of a specialist. And so I thought for his trait, he could discover weaknesses because he is part of the Explorers League. He's very well read. So I thought that, by studying anything that he was pitted up against, whether that be structures or minions or other heroes, he could increase his damage depending on the number of times you hit the same target in a row. So I figured that would make him really good for like pushing a lane, which I do know is kind of the same as what Murky does, in that like you don't necessarily want both your Murlocs doing the same thing, but whatever.
We want both Murlocs doing the same thing. Now, when you say attack, do you think he is melee or ranged?
I picture him as melee because he has a machete.
That's right. Okay, so he'd be hacking away with the machete. Would he be taking notes to the side after each slash?
I would love that animation. That would be perfect to see him like hack a tower and then like write a quick note, and then hack a tower and then write a quick note, and his damage is going up every time. Perfect.
And then also with the damage, is there a cap for this, or would it just keep going exponentially? Good luck other teams stopping that.
Well, and this is the thing is I think that, the fact that he's melee makes him a little bit different. He's not actually disabling targets as he's hitting them. So I feel like he would still be pretty squishy and he'd have to be up in melee. So I think that, yeah, it would just keep ticking, but then obviously it resets every time something dies or gets destroyed, right? So it's not like his ticking damage would, carry on to the next minion or carry on to the next tower. He has to start all over again once he discovers a new enemy.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So it's just, obviously, so that's where I think the specialist role would come in, is because you would want to kind of use his general damage increase against a target that has a lot of health. So, like you don't necessarily want to use him on minions. You want to use him on towers where he can sit there and kind of slowly start, but then really ramp up quickly and get that tower down.
Definitely.
And I picture him running around on the fossilized raptor because, as I mentioned, he is part of archaeology questing and he's part of the League of Explorers. So I think clearly he has to have the super awesome archaeology mount from Warcraft.
Well, yes. Now, how long does it take to get this archaeology mount? Because we know.
Oh my God,
it's so
freaking long.
Really? Did you get it?
No. So basically the way archaeology works in Warcraft is you have to do a specific type of archaeology. So there's specific dig sites that have specific types. So you first of all have to find fossil dig sites, and then you have to solve fossil artifacts until you randomly get the chance to solve the fossilized raptor. And then it takes like a whole ton of shards. So you may have to do like 5 or 6 different dig sites in order to get enough pieces to put the fossilized raptor together. And I've never actually had the fossilized raptor option because every time you do a new relic, it's just a random relic. So you just have to kind of hope RNG is on your side.
Pray to the RNG gods, please.
Yeah.
Oh, please.
So, but I think Sir Finley, being the master archaeologist that he is, clearly he already has solved his fossilized raptor.
He's a master. Yeah, I would agree with that.
So for his Q ability, like I mentioned, I'm picturing him as a melee hero. And so his Q ability is Machete Slash. And so he deals damage in front of him in a frontal cone kind of an area. So I'm picturing this little teeny tiny murloc just going like, ha ha!
Oh, perfect. So are you imagining he's about the size of Murky?
Yeah, I mean, he wouldn't be any bigger. He would, I guess he stands up straight, but I still don't, he uses the murloc model in Warcraft. So he wouldn't be any bigger than Murky, for sure. Yeah. So I picture like him holding a machete that's basically as big as he is.
It's adorable. And he'd swing it one hand?
Yes. Just one big pirate slash.
And the poor minions. So how long is the slash? Are we talking the first row of minions, 2 rows, all 3 rows?
Oh, no, not that big. I mean, he's a murloc. He doesn't have that kind of reach. So no, probably just the first row of minions, I think. But it like wide enough to hit all 3 of them at once.
Certainly.
Yeah. Otherwise, God, it'd take him forever to go through that stack. And then for his second ability, so his W, I was thinking he could throw his T, and that would be an AoE, like, confused type stun, because your enemies are busy wiping boiling tea from their faces. So I kind of picture them, like, doing this, like, hands on their faces, kind of wandering around. So not so much just, like, a full-on stun, but just kind of like an, oh my God, I have tea on my face.
Yeah, a blind.
A blind, yeah, kind of.
And this is the one that I really, really loved, because he'd have to have tea with him.
Right? So he's got machete in one hand and a little cup of tea in the other.
Exactly. So he'd be okay, so you imagine he already has it. He wouldn't have to pull it out. So he is hacking his way, all while maintaining the balance of the teacup. Well,
I mean, he's British, so there's a certain level of decorum. You
Fair
can't
enough.
just hack and slash your way to victory. You have to be civilized at the same time.
Certainly. Now, would his pinky be out?
Of course. Is
And
there
then what
any
type
other
of
way?
Tea?
Pardon me?
Oh, and what type of tea?
Oh, this is going way down the rabbit hole.
I mean, you could choose
English
different
breakfast?
talent specs for the type of tree.
That would be really funny, actually. And then so his final ability, which I think is pretty cool, is the survey ability. So this is his E, and that would be to pull out a survey telescope, which grants your team vision across the map in a straight line. So this I think is so cool, because like how many times you're like, are they doing boss? Are they doing boss? Sir Finley could just be like, well, let me survey the situation, like adjust his monocle and pull out his survey telescope.
Now, is it a telescope that sits on the ground or just one of those long ones that he would hold?
Well, the survey telescopes that you use in archaeology and WoW are like on a tripod with like a blinking light on them to tell you how close you are to the artifact. So, I mean, if you wanted to fully incorporate the Warcraft telescope, then you could do something along the lines of like it blinks red if there's enemies caught in the vision or something. But
That's awesome. So it's like Tyranda's owl, except is the entire length visible immediately?
Yes.
Perfect. And then terrain doesn't matter. Bushes don't matter.
Exactly. No, so like I was thinking it'd be a pretty narrow, probably a pretty narrow band, because you don't want to make it too overpowered, obviously. But yeah, basically like just straight line vision for a set duration, like 5 seconds or something, or 3 seconds. I don't know. The heroes team does the balancing. I just do the fun.
Exactly. They deal with the numbers.
Exactly.
It's the idea team is what this is.
So yeah, I'm kind of picturing, just whatever direction he's standing when he does his survey, then just a full line straight across the map, granting vision to you and your team.
Awesome. Very, very powerful, and great for a specialist as well, because then you can know which lane to be in and which one will put you out of harm's way if they're on their way.
Exactly, because that was one thing, is that Sir Finley, even though he's melee, I didn't give him an escape. I guess his throwing his T to confuse people could kind of be used as an escape, but he's not quite as mobile as other things. So I feel like that's why having an ability that grants vision in one way or another is really important, because you need to be aware of your surroundings playing this character so that you don't get caught out and killed, because again, you're melee and you're squishy, so...
and you know what's even better about that too is that there's no owl, so the other team can't really pinpoint what direction.
Exactly,
they wouldn't even know.
No, they would have no idea that you've used your ability. They wouldn't know where you were looking. This is all just you and your team and what information you've now gathered.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so I like Sir Finley already. I want to play him now.
It's hard not to at this point.
I know, right? And so that brings us to his heroic ability. So the first heroic ability that I thought of is called Who's Up for an Adventure? And so this one is randomly buff one of your other 3 abilities. So either increasing the range of your machete, or also could be damage done, or it could be both. Increase the time that your T confuses your enemies, or widen the visibility area granted by your survey. So I was kind of thinking that this one would be a little bit of a shorter cooldown on a heroic, because the effect is actually random. So it's harder for him to, I guess, respond to a situation. It's more so just like, I could use a buff right now, so buff, as opposed to like, we're in a team fight and I specifically need more damage or an escape or whatever. So that's kind of what I was thinking for the first one. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's great. And so you're saying it's much more of a utility than it is a game winner. So in that case, I'm assuming a really, really short cooldown, so he can just pump it out.
Yeah, so again, since it randomly buffs one, having a shorter cooldown makes it a little bit more useful. And then his second one, I thought it would be cool if he had the League of Explorers, which again, because he's Sir Finley, it's random. He randomly summons one of Elise Starseeker, Bran Bronzebeard, or Reno Jackson, and each of them gives a different kind of buff. So Elise Starseeker would reveal the map for the duration of her summon. So the whole map, because Elise is like the map keeper. Bran Bronzebeard would double your damage for a duration, so as long as he's there and summoned. And Reno Jackson would, if you activate him, heal you to full health.
Ooh. Okay, so Reno, would you be able to target him on other teammates, or is he just strictly your healer?
He would be your healer.
Okay.
Which I think is why that's what makes him balanced, because since you are a murloc, you're going to be, like I mentioned, you're small, you're squishy, so your health pool is going to be smaller. If you could do something like target your tank and then heal your tank to full health, I think that would be way too powerful. So this way, it's kind of keeping a cap on that amount of healing.
I love that. I love that. And then, of course, the damage, the double damage. But Elise reveal the entire map. Would this include stealthies?
Ooh, that's a good question. I feel like no, because Elise, her strength is in, knowledge and maps, not necessarily like dispelling things. So I feel like anything that would be visible if you were standing next to it, then she would be able to reveal it because she would know things like the terrain, but she wouldn't necessarily know where like Nova was hiding. I think that makes more sense. So not stealthies, but everybody else.
Yeah. And what about bushes or those areas where you can't quite see into? Would those be visible?
I don't think so. I think anything that would make your character invisible to the other team, I think would probably stay invisible. It's more so it just as if you were standing everywhere on the map at the same time. That's what Elise's ability would be. Because otherwise I think it's way too powerful.
Well, I mean, there's always level 20, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It heals everything. You get
Including
5 times damage, and everyone is full healed.
Yeah. Man, Sir Finley's powerful.
He is. Well, you got to give it to the murlocs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. He doesn't have an egg to regen, though, which makes me sad.
That's true. I mean, could we even... He was found in an egg.
Yeah, technically they all come from eggs, but we don't want to steal too much from Murky. I think Sir Finley's a totally different murloc.
He would have to be, right? He would have to be. And he speaks common, which I think is definitely a testament to his educational differences. All right, great. Well, let's go ahead. We've got the final bit before we consider this Hero Forged, and those are the specialty skins. So since I did my build first, I'll go ahead and go first with that because I really, really, really like yours, especially after having done some of these quests in World of Warcraft. So this one, I thought we could go with something called Finley Mrrgglton.
All right.
Though the safari cap may be sharp, it's not as sharp as a bucket cap, bow tie, and umbrella. So basically a tiny Henry Jones Sr.
I love it. And I'm now picturing him swinging the umbrella the way I pictured him swinging the machete. And that's just so much better.
Exactly. And maybe he pours tea on the outside of it and does a whoop, 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 whoop.
Oh my God. Yes. That's so great. Oh man, I love that. All right. So are we ready for mine?
I think so.
All right. So my specialty skin for Sir Finley is King Mrrgglton. And if you're not familiar, King Mrrgglton is a character in Warcraft who spends a lot of time with murlocs, but he's actually a night elf. And so he has to wear a murloc costume. So I picture Sir Finley because he's so well educated and he's too much like humans to be accepted by his own kind. He has to wear the murloc suit to blend in. So his specialty skin is King Mrrgglton.
I fell in love with this the moment I read it because I did those quests. And I mean, even though it's a really poorly done costume, the eye pops out a few times. And you see the very obvious stitches and everything.
Yes.
It's just so perfect.
Yeah.
And then I got to thinking, what if he also had special race skins for like, if there's a bad Protoss or a bad human or a bad Zerg he could slip into.
That would be so great. Like those are the different alternate colors. So like the base color is Mrrgglton, and then the second one is a Zergling, and then the third one is like, I don't know, what would a Diablo thing be?
Oh, that would be adorable. He'd have to be like a stuffed Diablo with little tinier horns. I think
that would be so good. Because doesn't Diablo have like a murky kind of, or I guess that's technically not a murloc. No, wait, he has a murloc skin.
Mrrgglton.
Yeah, yeah.
He's got it.
So that would be really cool because then you have a murloc with a Diablo skin and Diablo with a murloc skin.
Where does the beginner end? It works. It works. We don't know how, but it works. Awesome. Well, with that, I think this hero is forged.
Hero Forged.
All right, there we have it. 2 incredible ways to bring Sir Mrrgglton into the Nexus. From Jocelyn's gentlemanly specialist that's not afraid to use his tea, And to my artifact-wielding jack of all trades, there's really no limit to what murlocs can do in the Nexus. Any final thoughts before we wrap this up?
I'm just really excited to see any sort of Hearthstone characters coming into Heroes of the Storm, because I think that that's the least represented game right now. And I know the Innkeeper is one that a lot of people think could possibly potentially be part. And I think you guys have actually forged the Innkeeper previously, right?
We did.
Yeah. So I want Hearthstone to have some representation, because I think it's such a cool game. And I think that the League of Explorers characters, or the Innkeeper, being completely new to the Blizzard universe, I think that is the direction that we should go. So I hope that they're listening and they take my Sir Finley suggestions, but I'll settle for the Innkeeper.
The Innkeeper will be okay. Are there any other characters? Because I know Karazhan also came out as an expansion. And did that introduce any new characters as well?
They were more like spins on existing characters. So it was basically the existing characters in Karazhan, but getting ready for a party. So I feel like they're more like skins. So Medivh's already in the game. If you had like a disco Medivh skin, then that would be very Karazhan. But League of Explorers was a totally new concept, only in Hearthstone. So pulling from ideas in Warcraft, but creating all new characters. So I think that that's the best place. So that would be Elise, which I think you guys have also forged.
Yes.
Bran, like I mentioned, is actually, he was in Warcraft first, but Sir Finley and Reno Jackson. So Reno would be the other kind of exclusive to Hearthstone character.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining tonight. And before we do the send-off here, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me at Joss Plays in all the places. That's JOCE Plays. That'll work on Twitter, Twitch, as well as jossplays.com.
Wonderful. And if you're looking for me, I am Dream Destroyer. That is DRMDESTRYR over at Twitch, Twitter, and YouTube, as well as my health and fitness blog, battledtobebetter.weebly.com, where this week I walk you through a simple, step-by-step way of learning how to read nutrition labels. As for HeroesForge, you can find us on Twitter at ForgeHeroes. This and all past episodes are available on our website at heroesforge.club, as well as amove.tv, YouTube, and iTunes. If you're hoping to tune in live, catch us at 7 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/amovetv. And if you'd like to support the show, please visit our Patreon over at patreon.com/heroesforge. And finally, if you've got a fantastic idea or a fantastic build for a hero that you want to see in the Nexus, send it our way at contactheroesforge@gmail.com. That'll be it for us. See you all in the real world.